Yeah. Well,
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're going to get this meeting called to order. First thing, the approval of the agenda.
Make motion to approve.
Second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Minutes of the May 2nd, 9th board meeting. Approval for the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second. All those in favor? Aye. That public hearing to consider chapter 31 private sewage disposal. Randy, you have anything to add to this?
No, I'm just looking at to set the 3 public hearings. And
They
then,
have going to hold the 3 hearings.
yeah, if you want to have all 3 of them, but at least I can set them and advertise them that way, and you can always waive the second or third reading.
Just a brief sum up of what this is going to involve for the.
This is an on-site wastewater ordinance. We've not had one before. Sorry.
You're on.
Yeah. We've not had an ordinance before. This is basically just our policies and procedures. So the public and the contractors know what is expected. We've been working with the county attorney's office, and they've helped with that and approved that. And then we met with the Board of Health last week and got their approval. So this just will help us in the future, so contractors and homeowners know what's expected.
All right, thank you. You have a date?
Yes, the first hearing would be June 30th at 9:30. Second hearing, July 14th at 9:30, and July 28th for the third if you host that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve.
No, second. All those in favor? Aye. Set date for public hearing for fiscal year 25-26 budget. Date she had.
I'll make a motion to set the date for June 30th.
No, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Maintenance agreement for secondary roads generator with Alto for the yearly maintenance project, correct, Brad?
Yes, this would be similar to the contract that Sheriff Phillips brought forward a couple weeks back. Same
company.
vendor. Usually try to coordinate the contracts for our location and emergency management with the Sheriff's Department.
I'll make a motion to approve.
No, second. Those in favor? Aye. COPIP update, Mark Rowe. Morning, Mark.
Good morning. Alan. I'm going to try to get as much of this from memory as possible here. So I usually start these presentations out with a little bit of an update on what the economy is in the county before we dive into too much of anything else. Just to start off with the housing market, we have seen a little bit of a dip in the housing market over the last 12 months. The average house price right now is selling at about $136,500 in Wapello County, which is about an 8% decline over the same period last year. Obviously, the reasons for that are going to be primarily inflation driven and interest rate driven. We've seen the interest rates and for the feds and the banks roughly between 6.5% and lowering down to about 5% this year. However, we've also seen inflation starting to move back up at about 4% this year. So we are seeing the housing market slow down, both in sales price and the number of days that the houses are staying on inventory. They're staying on inventory around 122 days average between all houses now. So not looking too great, but I'm sure that with the next Fed meeting, it's expected to either stay stable or drop a half point. So we should be able to see a little bit more movement with that. Looking at the jobs market, the jobs are a little bit of a tricky situation in Wapello County over the last year. Luckily, we have seen the unemployment rate go down from April was the last month year over year that we have. April last year, we were at about 3.5%. This year, we're at about 3.1%. So we're pacing right in line with what the state average and the national average is. But what I like to look at really is the labor participation rate. And that's a better gauge. Those are the people that are actually either in the workforce or they're actively seeking to be employed. We're about 62.7% in Wapello County right now, which is very much in line with the national average for labor participation rates. However, we're falling below a couple of points on the state average. And that's a little bit more than what it was last year. Same time last year, we're at about 60.2%. So we're ahead of that. But to the counter of that, we also have about 400 less jobs this year than we had last year. Most of that is due to layoffs from major manufacturers in the area. So we've got a little bit of work to do in the way of getting more jobs in the community. However, with that being said, we have a very interesting conundrum with the actual workforce in Wapello County. The numbers that we have currently, as of this week, there's about 1,000 people that are, or 1,000 jobs that are open in Wapello County right now. And with that, only about 525 registered job seekers. So I think we can start to see where that imbalance is coming in. And of that 1,000 jobs, there are a considerable amount of those jobs that require some sort of advanced certification past a high school diploma. So with that, while we have a high graduation rate from the local high schools, we don't have a high rate of people that are seeking certification programs. So and we'll talk more about this here in a little bit, but that's one of our imbalances is the skills gap that we have in Wapello County moving forward. So in respect to business climate, we are seeing business growth still, even with the economy in the way that it is right now. We're still seeing year over year about 1.8% business growth, new business growth in Wapello County. And one of the things that I'm really happy about, that we've been able to trace it long enough now that we're able to track what type of business is coming into, or the business ownership of a lot of those. And 76% of those businesses year over year are new business that is small business growth. So that's really good. And of that 76%, more than half of it is either woman-owned or minority-owned business. So good solid business growth is matching the demographic of the communities that they're in. So We are still seeing a huge opportunity gap in restaurants and food service industry in Wapello County. So that's obviously one of the areas that we'll be looking to capitalize on over the next 12 months as we're recruiting business into the community. Looking at, so that any questions on kind of where the economy is at here in the county? That was a very quick synopsis, I know.
I've seen unemployment, or not unemployment, but our interest rates coming back,
The interest rates.
going down where the more people can afford to buy.
So again, the feds had mentioned during their last statement that when they do their next evaluation, it's either going to be stable or they're looking to drop it a half a point. As far as seeing rates below 5%, we've talked to a few of the realtors and the banks here in town over the last 6 months, and basically all of them are saying we shouldn't see rates go below 5% for the next couple of years.
Do you see any published data on home-based businesses in the area? I know with our broadband expansion, that should be encouraging small businesses, but do you have any data on that?
No, we don't, because, and the reason for that is Iowa doesn't require businesses to register within the state. So it's any data that we would have would be anecdotal at best.
I should continue.
Okay, so looking at what GoPIF specifically has done over the last few months, starting off with some of the events that we've produced. We started off this year with a agribusiness summit, which was really focusing on the agricultural business for Wapello County. We had about 50 people in participation. I think I'd mentioned this once before. Supervisor Ziegler helped take part in that programming. It was a very good launch to that event, so we're expecting to see a higher participation rate next year. What was really good was we were able to bring down some folks from Des Moines who had very specific expertise in some of the topics that we were talking about. Again, we held Lean In this year, which had about 200 participants. That's a women in leadership event. And after that, we did the Ottumwa International Film Festival, which was recognized by Iowa Economic Development Authority this year as a state-sanctioned film festival. What was really great about that event was we had participation from 3 different countries in the event this year, and we saw an exponential increase from last year from interstate travel to the event. So that was really good. And then obviously, I've not held this too close to my chest ever. Lemonade Day, we just completed that, and we rearranged that this year to allow for more children to partake in that program. And with that, we saw more lemonade stands than we had ever seen in the community, with increased business participation in the event. So far, we have completely shattered, and by we, I mean the children, have completely shattered their donation back to the community with their share portion. So we're really happy about that. Some of the events that we have coming up that are going to be of particular interest, we're starting back up, which had been on hiatus for a few years, a state of the economy, which is really kind of marrying up to the beginning of this presentation, talking about the particular trends that are happening within the state of Iowa and the country, and where we see that and how we can plan for it over the next few years. And that'll be an annual event also. So that's something that we're really looking forward to. And again, we'll be bringing economists and state officials in for that. Specific to the workforce, we have been working with Iowa Works on putting together a listening session for human resources professionals specific to recruitment and how we can get more people into Wapello County and eliminate some of that skills gap moving forward, and work with the Ottumwa School District Cardinal School District, Indian Hills Community College on ways that we can start building those skill sets up on the youth before they enter the workforce, because not everybody wants to go to college. So how do we fill that gap and get those people in there? What we risk by not doing that moving forward is losing some of that succession planning and forcing small business to close down because there's nobody to backfill those positions. So, and then another thing that we're working with a local manufacturer is a national program specific to mechanical engineering at the not necessarily the collegiate level, but the workforce level, so we can get some of those people skilled up that are already in the workforce and those that are just entering the workforce to help fill the gap in some of that area as well. So that's the big things that we're working on in workforce. And looking at housing, everybody probably knows already we have taken the Vogel Heights project here in Ottumwa past the finish line, and the dirt is moving out there. And while that is going, we're not resting on our laurels. We're looking at other areas of opportunity that are number one within the city, but also within the county, looking at projects and speaking with developers on, and I've talked to all of you about this particular properties that are within the county that we can look for development for housing into the next 5 years.
I'm glad you brought up Vogel because I had on here for the site. Could you just touch on how many properties are sold, which I understand is more than half already?
Yep.
And several of them went to the college and the schools. So
yeah, so as it stands right now, first off, there to break it down, there were 58 units available on that property. That's not 58 plots, that's 58 units. There's about 40 plots that are there. All but three, the last number that I had, all but three of the single family units, there were 14 of those that were sold already. And the numbers that were going to the school district and Indian Hills Community College, there were 3 that were going to Indian Hills Community College, 5 going to Ottumwa Community Schools. The rest of them are all local and regional developers for the property. So we actually just helped a local developer for some of the triplexes and the quadplex fill out his workforce housing tax credit application for the Thriving Communities designation last week. So we have well over half of them that are sold at this point. We're working on driving down that duplex and triplex number as we speak.
awesome. That's gonna be a great deal. Some new housing. So
Which is really needed because as I have mentioned, specific to Ottumwa City Council meetings in the past, the city of Ottumwa specifically, we have seen the housing numbers go negative every year. We're not keeping up with new house builds compared to what the condemnations and demolitions are in the community. So as we continue to see either population be stagnant, or especially if we're looking for the community to grow into the future, we've got to turn those housing numbers around. Otherwise, we have no place to put new people that are coming to Ottumwa.
I appreciate it, Mark. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next up is resolution 2026 quarterly transfer to secondary road.
I'll make a motion to do the transfer.
I'll second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Liquor license for the Tipsy Travelers at RJ Performance for a one-day event for July 16th.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
City of Agency 28E agreement with the Sheriff's Department for patrol services.
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Iowa Communities Insurance Pool ICAP member proxy 2627. Nothing really changed there. I know you love to talk about insurance, so you got 1 minute.
Oh, yeah, I will. You can cut me off. Is this on?
No,
Yes. Okay. So anyway, July 1 is the renewal date for the Iowa Communities Assurance Pool, which provides your property and casualty insurance. And July 1 is also the date for your workers' compensation renewal. So if you want, I can give you just a couple of highlights. I delivered the actual packet to Danielle probably about 2 weeks ago. But in total from 2025, the premium that you paid, the total increase was about $18,248, which is about 4%. Now that includes the property limits that the county has increased by $13,967,754. That includes the purchase of the bank plus the HCA appraisals that were done on all of your properties. Of that property increase, that accounts for $16,154 of the premium. Your fleet schedule, that's all of your autos, which includes most of them are in sheriff and secondary roads. The fleet schedule values increased by $197,397, which amounts to $1,984 in premium. Your total fleet value now is $4,586,371. You add that to the total property, which is all of the buildings, contents, equipment, etc. That is insured at $77,294,976. So your total assets that the county owns and insures at this moment is almost $82 million. Auto liability premium, we have 2 more additional vehicles insured this year than we did last year. And that accounts for $541 of that premium. We have $5 million excess coverage. So we have 2 million primary, 5 million excess. So you have 7 million on all of your auto liability lines, your public officials, the general liability, the law enforcement, employment practices, etc. Currently our deductibles, we have property at 5,000, and I do have optional deductibles to increase up to 10,000 and 15,000. We can go through that in a work session, but in all honesty, the average claims that the county has incurred in the last 5 years is 7 per year. So if you increase your deductible from 5,000 to 10,000, you've got an additional $5,000 exposure. 7 claims a year, that's an additional 35,000 that you would be withholding or, subsidizing. Your total claims value is 15,587. So basically you would, the premium savings does not offset what additional you would have to pay out, but we can go through those claim by claim. Let's see, there's a separate 2% wind hail deductible. It's slot rated depending on the size of the loss. So in totality, your 26 rates, the property, your equipment, and the auto physical damage has a 0 rate increase. So the rates did not change at all for those lines. If we subtracted out the increase in the property values and the auto values, you would actually, the premium would have decreased $431. I mean, it's just the math of it all. So we can still look at different, deductible options. We can look at, right now you have $7 million limit. I would never suggest that you decrease your liability limits, but that's also an option because every additional $1 million is an additional cost. I do want to mention, and I know we've talked about this several times, your cyber liability limit right now is $250,000. We've provided an optional up to $1 million liability limit. I can tell you that is one area, and Andy can give you all the stats on it. That is a huge increase in claims in the state of Iowa. Well, nationwide, actually, worldwide, if you want to, go outside. But I know I had a cyber liability claim not too far from here. That was over $1 million. It was like 1.15 million. Fortunately, we were able to catch it, and the bank was able to recover a lot of those funds. But just the fact that it occurred, it's an exposure that, we want to be aware of. So that's where we're at on the ICAP side.
I guess the other question I had, which we don't have to deal with it now, but it's the idea of going from replacement value to a,
Yes, everything, when HCA did their appraisals, they rated everything what it would cost 100%. There are two other options besides the 100% replacement cost. One is actual cash value. So if you would review your statement of values, the buildings, if there are some buildings that that you would not replace at all, if it was demolished in a fire or a windstorm, you would still have debris removal, but you wouldn't replace it. So maybe you don't want to insure that replacement cost. The other option is actual cash value, which would be a depreciation. So you start with replacement cost and say, okay, you can take the buildings off the schedule totally, but the caveat there is that you would have no debris removal if it were destroyed. And I can tell you, you've got an in at the landfill, but if you have buildings that have any asbestos in them, there are certain requirements that the state has in place that you have to handle those differently and you have to dispose of those a little differently. So you have replacement cost, you have actual cash value, and you also have not to insure them at all. And then the fourth would be what we call agreed value, which gives you a little more leeway between replacement cost and actual cash value. Actual cash value, it has to be a minimum of 50% of whatever the replacement cost is.
just based on your knowledge, would there be any savings in any of those adjustments? Just generally?
Yes, depending on the building.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I think let me see if I have that schedule here. They also insured all of the, motor graders and other heavy equipment at replacement cost too. Which we have had a couple of claims now. We had a claim with conservation. Was it January of what year is this? 26, maybe 25, where there was a piece of equipment that they had purchased later on that had burned up as well. So the value of the equipment, we were under by probably $30,000, $40,000, but we were able to use some different benefits in the ICAP coverage forms to get us up a lot closer to that. And that was one of the great things about the HCA is they also evaluated all of the equipment that we had in the motor graders. But, for example, the law enforcement center, we have a new valuation on that, new valuation on the courthouse. The conservation nature center was also extremely underinsured. So they did bump that up to the replacement cost as well. But, if you've got a building and the premium factors out because, of how many millions it is. Let's say that if the premium is $20,000, if you cut the value by half, you're going to basically cut the premium by half. But the question is would you be able to rebuild what you need for half that premium?
Thank you. We can consider that.
Yeah, and Danielle has the total schedule of values in there. So
thank you.
Mhm.
You approve on this today too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a July 1, and I do have the breakout by departments to give to Danielle after the meeting, because we do break out the premium by department.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the member proxy.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hope you don't get to leave your seat yet. Iowa Municipalities Workers' Compensation Association, IMWCA renewal.
Okay, so on the IMWCA, the workers' compensation, your rateable payroll increased by 8% or 662,000 over last year. All of the class codes, the rate for $100 decreased. That was the average state decrease, except for two. One is in secondary roads. It's the road work drivers. That code increased by 3 cents or 1% over last year. And the second one was a maintenance code, which increased by 8% or 2%, or 8 cents or 2%. So your experience modification did increase by 3%. That is strictly driven by claims. And workers' compensation, the experience modification is promulgated over a 3-year rating average. So we're looking at claims that occurred in 22 and 23, 23 and 24, 24 and 25. So that went up 3%. Last year it was 1.01. 1%, 100 is the state average. For counties and other governmental entities that are similar codes and everything, you're 1% over what the average is. For last year, this year it increased 3 points, so it's 1.04. But your total workers' compensation premium, when we look at all of the decreases, even though you have that increase in the payroll, the premium increased by $2,600 or 2% from last year. Now, I do want to say we have one bad year, and that was 23-24. So that will stay on for next year's rating and fall off the year after in 28. So, you know, the workers' compensation that do want to give a shout out and kudos to the safety committee, because they have been working, and the department heads, very diligently about reviewing those claims and asking the questions. We have a claim now. Is there something we could have done that could have prevented that? Or is there something we need to change so we don't have a repeat? They meet every month, and Stacy from IMWCA has been coming down. Once we get past the claim year in 23-24, we will be setting very well. And just to give you an idea, if you had no claims, the lowest your experience mod could go is 0.59. So right now we're at 1.04. That being said, your total premium for this year is $128,000. So theoretically, you could be paying $60,000. But until we get past those, and one of the other things that the safety committee has really stepped up to the plate for is, once we get those claims, trying to keep those all medical only, because medical only claims are discounted 70% when they go into that experience mod calculation, which is huge. Because if we didn't have that 70% decrease, we would have a lot higher mod rate. So
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the renewal for IMWCA.
Second?
Those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Elaine.
thank you.
Resolution 25-2026, Eldon Uptown and Downtown tax abatements.
I'll move to approve the tax abatement.
I'll second.
Those in favor? Personnel request, payroll approval, new hire, sheriff's office, new deputy.
This will be fill a position that's on one of the federal grant positions, the last one to fill. I think we have it slated for July 6th start date,
What you have for academy?
end of August.
End of August. Awesome.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve.
Second?
Those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Tom. Payroll change approval for the secondary road. We've got 4 of them.
Yeah, these are all employees that went through a probation period, either as a new hire or transfer within the department in the last few months.
The 2 employees, Dave Yeager and Dale, how long have they been in those positions?
Something out, Rob. It's
Our blade
been
operator.
3 months. About 3 months. I think it's that 90-day period.
We gotta do one at a time, so first one,
I'll make a motion to approve the Dave Yeager.
I'll second.
those in favor?
Aye.
Anything for another position?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Oh, wait, we gotta get all the approvals on the other one, I guess, so. Oh,
What?
I did, didn't I? Yeah, okay. Motion on the second one? You motioned,
Yeah.
second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Third one? Is gonna be, was a foreman position,
For Todd, I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
those in favor?
Aye.
And the last one is mechanic foreman,
And I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Any luck on filling the mechanic spot yet?
I believe the applications were open through today. Another week.
Another week?
Another week.
Thank you, Brad. Next up is any other business, treasurer's report?
Brad, can you give us an update on Little Soap Road? I drove out there yesterday and I also drove on Madison Avenue, headed south out of town and 25th.
We're down there together. They're good.
Back in April when we had a meeting,
Yes,
so we were gonna come up with a different plan.
the plan that I've been working on, come up with, is to work on stabilizing the shoulders rather than adding aggregate to the washouts or trying to use cold mix or something of that in asphalt to fill in those gaps. All that's doing is the aggregate will wash out with the next big rain. Putting in asphalt just kind of shifts the problem over to right adjacent to that spot. What we need to do is go in and stabilize the shoulder for a short-term solution. We've purchased and taken delivery of recently in the last week or so, a chemical that we can incorporate into that shoulder. The process would be go in and strip off the sod so we can get down to just soil and incorporate that in. Should get a 5 to 7 year life, which is way more than what we anticipate the schedule to be to get in and do the widening project on Little Soap. That's, can't remember what fiscal year that's anticipated, 28 or
I think
29.
it's 28.
Okay, I think we might have actually put it in when we spent 2 years where we grade and shape 1 year and then do the actual paving project the following. That could be the same. So this stabilization process is something that would hopefully be not as hard as pavement, but it'd be similar to a rock road base. Something you could dig through with a chisel, but it's not going to erode, at least not very easily. And that would hopefully span the time until we can get out there and do that total reconstruction. The time frame to do that, the process requires that you have pretty good controls on moisture content. So the way things have been here this spring, that would be hard to do. So we were looking at a late summer, early fall timeframe to do that.
In the meantime, can we get something out? Have you been out there on those roads?
I haven't been out there in the last 2 weeks.
Today.
Okay, Mark was out. I know Mark was out there this morning trying to address a spot repair. I'm not sure if he had somebody out there with him or if he was doing it himself, but so I know we've had people out there. Like I say, it's been a couple of weeks since I've been out there personally, but I don't really
You're
have
gonna do
to
the
bring
same on Madison, do the same thing.
Yeah, I
Madison.
think there's a couple spots on Madison where it's killing enough that we're getting that same erosion problem. And most of that water,
Yesterday as well.
and most of that water, and I can't speak to the specific locations you were looking at, but most of those, the water's coming from off the road, down driveways, that type of thing, which we really can't control until it gets down to the road, and by then it's moving pretty hard, pretty fast, so it's, no, do what we can there. No, if this works on Little Soap with that stabilization, we could definitely
So
try
in
it
the
in the other
meantime, you're gonna have
spots.
somebody come out and fix it until you get your actual project going.
Right, and that's why Mark was out there this morning, was trying to stay out on top of it, react to it.
Okay. We might get the same repetitive phone calls for the same road. And how about Point Isabel? Did we just newly rebuild that road?
We reshaped that, finished up with it,
Can you take a drive on
like
that
2
road
weeks
today?
ago. Okay, I can probably do that too. I haven't been up
Those are the calls that I've been getting.
Mhm. Okay,
Thank you.
So I got. All right, so now we'll go to Treasurer's investment report.
I'll make a motion to approve the report as presented.
And I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Now we're open to open comments, and I believe gentlemen there, you can come up for your, did you want to come up for a comment? Yep, yep, this is the part, so
Okay,
I think your mic's already on.
okay, thank you. Thank you guys very much. Thank you to Carrie. My name is Kurt Bueline. I live at 2704 Little Soap Road. And I don't know where to start. I've been battling this for 5 years. 3 years ago, I don't believe he was the engineer at that time, but the same thing he's talking about doing. They did 3 years ago on my property, talked me into it. I'm stupid. I listened to him. You know where I'm at today? Ground zero. I'm back down to the big crevices. I'm back to where I can see underneath the road. And every 2 weeks, I am picking up asphalt chips. I mean, they're chunks. And I have to stack them away. I can't even cut my grass along the road anymore. I quit. And when they came out and did this job, and Rob, he was out at my place. I give him credit. He came out, walked it, saw the damage. Nothing happened out of it. Didn't say, can I come in and clean it up? Can we do this? I said, no, I'd like to talk to the engineer. I'd like to have him come out, walk with me and explain this. And Rob, his exact words to me was, oh, you won't get him out here. He doesn't come out. I said, serious? I'm paying his salary. And he can't even come and talk to a person complaining about a road. It's gotten so bad, I don't know where to go to. That's why I finally tried to contact you guys. And you know what? Out of all 3 of you, only 1 of you showed up. And you know, 2 of you are going for re-election. Haven't heard anything. You know who I've heard from? Carson Smith and Dennis. And Carrie came out. I called her yesterday morning, and I apologize I couldn't get back with you. She not only called me twice, she texted me, and she came out and looked. You 2, nothing.
Yeah, you're absolutely wrong. I'm on that road every week.
You haven't stopped by my place, and I've asked you to.
Yeah, I did not stop by your house. I have been out there to talk to other people. So
Okay.
It's an ongoing issue. We know it's on our schedule to fix.
But you don't understand. I can't even. They haven't even come out after this storm. In front of my house, if somebody had to put their brakes on, they're going to slide off the road because of all the rock. They haven't even cleaned up the rock in the road. And now, just north of my property is all the rock that they put along the road is north of my property. I can't even get through. I couldn't even try to get through with my lawnmower. And that used to be a nice piece of property. I cut every week, took care of it, and everything else. And then today, when I'm driving into town, you know what they're doing? They're putting down wet asphalt. Okay, they're not compounding it down. They're not rolling it. They're just taking it out of a bag, putting it down, and just leaving a pile. Well, it's a Band-Aid. It's not even a Band-Aid. It's going to wash away on our next storm.
That's the issue, is that no matter what we put down, it washes. That's why he's looking for alternatives.
But the issue is The county can't even, out of courtesy, stop and say, what can we do for you? Can't even come and clean it up. And she's taking pictures. I got pictures. And it's been 5 years, every spring. I can count on it. I call him. Rob is the only one that's come out, and he heard an earful. But it's frustrating. I take pride in my yard of trying to keep it up, and this looks like crap. And they don't care. I mean, I can't get the engineer out. So you tell me what the rest of their group, if the head guy doesn't care, how's the other one? What's the other group gonna feel like? Well, if he doesn't go out, why do I need to do it?
Well, I know you're proud of your property, but they also have 700 miles of roads they gotta
That's
maintain.
fine.
So they're doing very well with what they're doing, and they're working at it. And they are taking steps. Rob has been in contact with us before. I've talked to the foreman. I know they've talked to the foreman, and they've had different ideas of cutting into the bank to change the water flow.
Yeah, they've done all that, and it ends up the same way. So what you're telling me, bottom line is, you know what? Shut up and live with it. That's what you're basically telling me.
I'm not telling you to shut up and live with it, but we can only go so fast with our project. We only have so much money to do. That there's other people on other roads have the same issues.
But
and part of Little Soap is the same as Madison, same as the old Highway 34. Those roads weren't wide enough.
But
and when they redid the bridges on 63, which I'm assuming you were living there then, the semis took Little Soap as a detour to get around the bridge stops. The traffic increased, and that just disintegrated that road. Which actually we moved it up the list because it was further down the list to be done.
But the problem is everything seems like going on deaf ears. Why can't he show up? Why can't he just take 5 minutes? I've asked 3 or 4 times, but he can't even show up. I mean, just come out and look at it. Just look at it. That's all I asked.
Sir, I do recall having notes from you asking to do that. Come out and look at it. There wasn't anything about arranging a meeting to stop out there and talk with you. Those are two separate
They sent you an
issues.
email and asked you to call him. I did that.
As far as calling,
Run around.
yeah. And if you sent me that, I'm fairly sure I did my best to get a hold of him. So
I'll get my phone out. You never called me once. You never called me once. He is the only one that has shown up. And he even told me, he goes, he will not come out to see you.
Well, if that was the impression, it'd be because of limits of time, not because I don't want to.
That's how important. But they tried to fix it. And what he's saying is not going to work. They did it on my property. It did not work. And it's going to be more of a mess. I'd rather have them do nothing until they do the road. At least I won't have rock and debris all over my yard. I'd rather have them do nothing and let the water.
I don't know if you've ever done this before. Has this ever been done before, Rob?
With Larry, with Larry?
Larry just shaved his shoulder off and put ground on
No, he just put dirt and some other stuff underneath it.
Yeah.
This is a chemical soil stabilization that is used for creating new road beds.
But I am disappointed in the 2 supervisors. I couldn't even get a phone call back from you guys, and I got a phone call once from Carrie. And I said,
well, I can apologize for not calling you back.
So the only thing I can
lost
do-
your number, but I did go out there, and I did talk to your neighbors. I've talked to other people on there.
the only good thing is election time's coming up, and the only way things can be changed is the ballot box. And
Yep.
That's all it
Vote the
can
way
be.
you want. I tell everybody, vote the way you
so,
want.
well, I don't know what's going to be done after this meeting, but all I could do is come and put my 2 cents worth. And
We're going to continue with the
damage.
project we've already arranged.
Thank you. Thank you guys very much.
I also want
We'll
to,
stabilize.
I also want to remind you that there's 3 of us, and at times one of us can do what needs to be done instead of all 3 of us doing a repetitive attempt. So
But sometimes it's better to have more eyes on a problem than just 2, isn't it?
if Carrie looked at it, we trust Carrie to
Well,
look at it.
still
and
better.
advise
Maybe
us.
you guys have different options or ideas than one person does.
And
Maybe, maybe
thank you,
not.
Carrie, for looking into it.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, any other public comment? Travis got something.
Okay, so I was asked after the work session to look into a few things on the wind turbine stuff. I called several other counties and I was able to get a hold of a couple of them, but, I did learn a couple things. Someone I spoke to this morning and what I was asked to check on was the wordage in the ordinance of being taxed until they were completely removed. From my understanding, there are several ordinances that have that in it. So I don't believe that to be an issue. What I did learn is that, and I don't recall seeing this in the ordinance, but I will also say I didn't read it front to back. I've always talked about them being assessed at 30% of acquisition cost. The only way that that actually happens is if the ordinance references code section 427B.26. So again, I don't recall seeing that in there. And maybe you guys know whether it's referenced in there at all or not. If it is not referenced in the ordinance, then it does not fall under 427B.26, which is that 30% of acquisition cost coming on to the 7 years. So if they're not done, if it's not referenced, then they'll be assessed out of the Iowa Property Appraisal Manual. I don't have any information as to whether it would be more or less one way or the other. I was looking, I did look through the Iowa Property Appraisal Manual this morning to try and find the wind turbine section, and it's basically it's a rate per kilowatt and then a rate per height of tower on the kilowatt as well. So you add for a rate per kilowatt hour, and then you add for the tower height as well on top of that. And without specific numbers of what something would be, I can't really give you an idea of what one might be assessed at. And even if you did have them, I would be willing to try to figure it, but I would want to talk to another assessor that's actually done this to make sure that I was actually figuring it correctly. So I don't know what counties fall under that 427B.26 and which ones have chosen not to. I don't know if that's something you guys would want to look into to see where you would land on wanting that or not wanting it, but I think it is kind of used as an incentive to get projects done or whatever ends it falls on that 7-year step on. I think that was all I had. So just some information for you.
Thank you, sir.
And I would certainly like to continue to pursue answers to those questions. So we have them, and then we end up with an ordinance that's tied to Iowa code as it needs to be. So thank you.
Yep.
All right. Anybody else? Another one of your time. Call for a motion.
Take it.
We have to, permission or we just got to close.
There's 2 separate meetings. Close it.
2 separate ones, okay.
Gotta close it.
Okay, well, motion and a second to close, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Open meeting going to close for Mr. Galloway. Huh? We can, yeah. We got it. How are you?